Bangladesh is the only country with an Islamic majority whose president is a woman. Her name is Sheikh Hasina, and this is not a little example. We're talking about the third biggest Muslim country with more than 160 million inhabitants. Nonetheless, there is one Bangladeshi even more famous than Sheikh Hasina. This is Muhammad Yunus. He's the Nobel Peace Prize winner as well as the inventor of microcredits. He's also from Bangladesh. This is surprising given that in this country, only 1 out of every 3 citizens has a bank account. So Bangladesh is one of the fastest growing economies of the last few years. They have reduced poverty faster than anyone else. And they are also the world's second largest textile manufacturer, only surpassed by China. But despite all of that, most of the Bangladeshi people still keep their money at home. So now you might be wondering, well, why is this? What exactly is going on in Bangladesh that causes people not to trust the banks? Well, the answer to this, it's religion. According to Islam, lending money with interest is a sin, and 90% of the Bangladeshi people are Muslim. But wait just a minute here, because they are changing. In the last few decades, Muslim countries have created a system that allows saving and lending money, which also meets their Islamic principles. Yes, dear viewer, we are talking, of course, about Islamic banking, a phenomenon that is becoming more and more important in Bangladesh. And you might think that this is great news for the government of Sheikh Hasina, right? Well, in fact, the opposite is actually true.
Islamic Bank, Bangladesh's most watched bankers.
So now the question becomes, why does the government of Bangladesh distrust Islamic banking? And more importantly, what role might Islamic banking have in the future of Bangladesh? Well, today we're going to answer those questions, but before we do, let's answer the most important question of all.
What's Islamic banking all about?
Okay, so imagine we have $1,000 American and they're just sitting in a savings account. A Western bank can give you an interest rate of, say, 3%. Now, I'm sure many of you have wondered, well, how is it possible that a bank just gives us money for money that is simply sitting in it? Where's the profit here? Well, the truth is that $1,000, it's not just staying in the bank's safe. Instead, they use that money to lend to companies and individuals. Those loans, they simply have a higher interest rate, so the bank makes money and gives us a little share of that profit. This is the basic mechanism of the entire system of Western banking. Now, obviously, this carries some degree of risk because the bank can lose the money, but depending on the country we live in, the bank is forced by law to keep a small percentage of that $1,000. That percentage, it cannot be lent, and it's called the cash ratio. Now, according to Sharia law, this system is sinful because lending money with interest is seen as unfair. Of course, there is no problem with keeping your client's money, but you simply can't lend it to anyone. In economic jargon, this means that Sharia law demands a 100% cash ratio. So this, in summary, is the way that Islamic banks work. And now you might be wondering, well, where exactly is the business here? Well, mainly, Islamic banks will make money by 2 means. First, the banks charge their clients commissions for keeping the money. So instead of giving you an interest rate, Islamic banks can only give you a little symbolic present. This present, it's called the hibab. Another business practice that is allowed by Sharia law is adding overcosts. For example, let's say we buy a house with an Islamic bank. In this case, the bank will buy the house for us and then sell it to us at a higher price. This price is called the musharaka, and we can pay for it in installments. If, for whatever reason, we can't complete the payments, the bank will sell the house on the market. If they do get some profit from this selling, we, the clients, can take a share of the profit. But wait just a minute here, because this is not the end of the story.
The Quran bans banks from investing in what they consider dirty businesses, such as tobacco, weapons, or pornography. There's even a special index. The Dow Jones Islamic Markets has 1,400 companies from the New York stock market where Islamic banks can invest.
As you can imagine, these banks are becoming really successful in several Muslim countries. But, well, in Bangladesh, they are absolutely kicking ass.
Islamic banking is growing rapidly in Bangladesh, with a market share of about 20%.
Today, there are already 8 banks of this kind in Bangladesh. Even Western banks like Citi are starting to offer Islamic banking services for those who demand them. In a country where bribes are a thing everywhere, Islamic banks are famous for their transparency and good practices. Islamic banks, for instance, are famous for having nothing to do with the Bangladeshi government. So if you want to get a loan from an Islamic bank, you have to demonstrate that you are a reliable client willing to pay back your debts. But hold on a minute here, because, well, they are not as good as they might seem for these banks.
Good bank, bad bank.
Islamic banking arrived in Bangladesh in 1983 when some Saudi and Kuwaiti hedge funds decided to create the Islamic Bank. This bank played a crucial role in turning an agricultural country into the textile powerhouse that it is today. Today, clothes make up 80% of Bangladeshi exports, and Islamic Bank is the biggest bank in the country. Nonetheless, the growth of Islamic banking in the country is not clear anymore.
Bangladesh Central Bank is not giving new Islamic banking licenses.
Even those Western banks that want to give Islamic banking services must wait. They claim they need to create brand new regulations on the matter of Islamic banking. Meanwhile, the government of Sheikh Hasina has sent inspectors to the Islamic bank offices, and they are surveying all of their movements.
Government initiates a coup at Bangladesh's biggest bank. Board members receive a visit from military intelligence.
So now you might wonder, what is wrong with the Islamic banks and the government? Well, Sheikh Hasina claims that they are financing terrorism. As we explained in another video, Islamic terrorism is becoming a real threat to the country, and many people think some of these banks might be financing terrorist groups. However, there are several reasons that make us believe that at the end of the day, this is nothing but a power struggle. Sheikh Hasina loves to take things under her control, and the fact that the biggest bank in the country sympathizes with the proposals of the opposition party certainly does not help.
This is why, on January 2017, Hasina interviewed the Islamic Bank and changed the board of managers by her own supporters. Since then, loans have skyrocketed. The Bangladesh Central Bank itself has warned that some of these loans are too risky.
Meanwhile, those Saudi and Kuwaiti hedge funds that created the bank 35 years ago are now taking back their money. They simply don't think it is safe anymore. But wait just a minute here, because this is not the first time that Sheikh Hasina has tried to control the financial industry in her country. Do you remember that guy we mentioned at the beginning, Muhammad Yunus? Well, he is in Hasina's crosshairs too. In the year 2006, after some terrorist attacks, the Bangladeshi army organized a coup d'etat and created a technocratic government. Back then, Muhammad Yunus was a favorite candidate to lead that government. In the end, though, that didn't happen, but Hasina learned a vital lesson: beware of the bankers. Sometimes they like to get involved in politics. This is why Hasina's first priority after taking position in 2008 was to take care of Yunus. First of all, she forced him to resign as the chairman of his own bank, the Grameen Bank. Of course, some of her claims were true, and make no mistake, Muhammad Yunus is not a perfect guy, but we're going to talk about that in another video. But as if making him resign was not enough, Hasina also started a campaign to diminish his image in Bangladeshi society.
Nobel laureate Yunus got Hillary Clinton to stop WB funding for Padma Bridge, says Hasina.
In other words, Sheikh Hasina knows how to beat her political enemies. First, it was Yunus, now it's the Islamic banks. So the question is now, do you think there is an actual connection between Islamic banks and terrorism, or is this just an excuse made up by Sheikh Hasina in order to keep the finance industry under control? And should Bangladesh allow Islamic banks to operate in the country without restrictions? Well, please leave your comment in the comment section below. Also, visit our friends at the Reconsider Media podcast. They provided the vocals in this episode that are not mine. Also, check out my other channel, Biographics. We do long-form biographies of people from history as well as the present day. And if you like this video, please do hit like and do subscribe, because we put out brand new videos every Monday and every Thursday. And as always, thank you for watching.
And if you want to learn more about politics and hear even more of my lovely voice, you can join us at Reconsider Media. We have a podcast at reconsidermedia.com/podcast. See you there.